Welcome back. Now, on behalf of the Total Energies EP Namibia BV and Shell Namibia, Deloitte Namibia is conducting an industrial baseline study for the upstream oil and gas industry. The study commenced in July 2023 with the objective to assess the readiness and potential of our local industry as well as the workforce. To tell us more on the study, I'm joined by Deloitte country leader, Melanie Harrison. A very good evening to you, Melanie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Melanie, let's start with context. Could you perhaps just paint the picture for us and what that looks like, and essentially what necessitated the industrial baseline study?
Okay. With the discoveries of light oil by Total Energies and Shell, it confirmed the potential of the deepwater Orange River Basin. And the significant investment, if development is confirmed, would play a pivotal role in accelerating the development of other industries, goods and services, as well as workforce within Namibia. So it is a key driver for new opportunities and a potential for economic growth within Namibia.
Okay, then what exactly is then the industrial baseline study?
So the industrial baseline study is really to ascertain the readiness of the Namibian supply chains and workforce in order to service this new industry. So it's really to understand the lay of the land. It's a baseline study to understand what is the capacity that we currently have within the country from a supply chain perspective as well as from a workforce perspective.
Considering the significance of the oil and gas sector in Namibia, what kind of stakeholders are part of this particular study? Who is essentially behind this initiative?
So as already mentioned, Total Energies and Shell are the sponsors of this study. Then it's also endorsed by the Ministry of Mines and Energy, and our other key stakeholders are NAMCOR as well as Petrofund. Deloitte Namibia is the consultant that is performing the study, but we're doing it together with Survey Warehouse as well as Manasa. And all of the three of us are Namibian companies employing Namibians really to give that Namibian perspective.
Yeah, which is quite important, Melanie. Just to pivot a bit and really just to get a complete understanding of the baseline study, what would you say are some of the objectives that Deloitte is trying to really get out of this particular study?
So it's really to provide a comprehensive overview of the available resources for the oil and gas projects. Currently, what is currently in place, what would be the future, what companies can diversify themselves in order to meet the demand that might come. So it's really just to understand, to get that comprehensive view and identify strategic and operational ways to implement a sustainable local content program. It's all about making sure that the value stays within Namibia as far as possible and that local content
comes through a lot. Yes.
Comes through.
So for the layman and just even or anybody that's really interested in the outcomes of this particular study, what would you say are some of the benefits that Namibians will be able to derive out of this particular study? Why is it? What are we then looking at after the fact?
So it's really about creating more value within the country and economic growth. So we've identified a number of supply chains or sectors that would potentially benefit out of this industry. So the benefit is for our local supply chains, our industries to grow, but also for our workforce to be uplifted so that they can, support the industry.
Okay, Melanie, talk to us a bit about the modalities of this particular study and who can essentially participate and what does that look like?
Okay, so what you'll see on the screen, what we've tried to depict is the life cycle of a typical oil and gas project. So we're looking at it from exploration and appraisal. We're currently in appraisal, all the way through to construction, production, and then decommissioning. And it's really over almost like a 30-year period. So in this whole phase and all of these phases of a typical oil and gas project, there's a lot of supply chains that are required. Some of them are oil and gas specific, such as your drilling services, your oil field services, etc. But there's a lot of indirect supply chains that will be required. And a lot of these supply chains are required throughout the life cycle of a typical oil and gas project. And when we're talking about these services, which are not oil and gas specific, it's things like medical services, IT services, telco services, construction services, accommodation, catering. And it really almost touches on every single type of supply chain that we have. I mean, even insurance, food and water supply, etc. So what we have done is we've created a survey. It's a questionnaire, an electronic questionnaire, and we're really looking for companies that fit in all of these categories to answer. And what we're trying to get out of that is to understand what their current capacity is.
Right.
So we want to understand their current capacity. Also, are they local? As well as how many people are they employing, how many people are Namibian.
Yeah.
So in terms of who can participate, it's really any of those companies that fit within any of those supply chains. But even if you don't, there is an option for other, because there are obviously other supply chains that might be needed at a later stage.
Right. Will the study predominantly just be focused on Namibian-based companies?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're looking at Namibian-based companies. The companies have to have an office here in Namibia at least. But ultimately, we're also looking at how many people are they, Namibians are they employing. Okay. So it's because it is really about local content. It's about how much of the value chain can stay here.
Right. Before I let you go, Melanie, if I want to participate in this particular study, or how does one then get to participate in this study?
Yeah. So like I already mentioned, we've got this online questionnaire. It's available on the Deloitte website as well as our social media pages. And through this questionnaire, we capture quite a bit of information, obviously company information, ownership information in terms of, you know, how much is Namibian ownership, as well as what supply. So what is your workforce, but also how much can you supply? How much cement, for example, can your company supply, whatever it may be. So we capture that information. Out of those that have done the survey, we will select some across the different supply chains and do site visits to confirm that. And it's really also part of that site visit is to understand you know, what their current capacity is, but also how quickly can they diversify. We will also want to get an understanding of, you know, their health and safety procedures. So what we're trying to do is understand the baseline, but at the same time, we're also trying to ascertain what the demand could be, because we want to understand what that gap is. And if we have a gap, we would like to see how many Namibian companies will be able to diversify or sort of like grow their business in order to fill that gap, and what industries or what sectors are there specifically where we will have to use locals.
Right.
So we're trying to understand that. And I spoke about the supply chains, but also from a workforce perspective.
So Melanie, to get more details and also just get the questionnaire, go to the Deloitte's website. All of that information is available there.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you go to, on this slide, there's also a QR code. If you take a picture of that QR code, it would also take you directly to the link. But it is available on the Deloitte website, as I already mentioned, as well as our social media pages. We are running the social media links almost on a daily basis to make sure that it's well known. But we really need to have maximum participation, because it will give us really a good understanding of what the baseline is within the country and what our capacity is to service this industry.
100%. Thank you so much, Melanie, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it, Deloitte and Touche country leader, Melanie Harrison, taking us through the objectives of the industrial baseline study for the upstream oil and gas industry that Deloitte Namibia is conducting on behalf of Total Energies, EP Namibia BV, as well as Shell Namibia. Your economic indicators are up next.